Triple E EDC here, back again with another knife video. This is the Chaves 229. The 228 I think has been out a while as one of his customs or mid-techs, and the 229 was much anticipated production version that just came out, and it's a larger version of a lot of his other knives that he does. He has the Ultramar series, the Rendition, the Liberty, and the Sangre. And all of those are a little bit smaller, and so they're, as you guys know, I'm not a big small knife person. I like larger knives. So I held off a lot on Chaves for two reasons. One reason was the size of some of his other offerings, at least on the production scale. And the other reason was the pocket clip, which we'll get to later. I work in an office, and that's just, for some people, you can guess that it may be problematic, but we'll talk about that later. In any event, I just wanted to do a review of this knife. I got it in a little bit ago. I've actually been carrying it quite a bit, so I'm very familiar with it, and I want to start off with some size comparisons. So take a look at that, and let's put, first and foremost, let's put it against another knife that you could probably get on the secondary market for a little bit more than this, but is something that is also attainable at around the same price range. So this is about $300 on the primary market, and this is about I think it's about $450 or something on the primary market, but on the secondary market you can find these for about $350. So this is the Benchmade Anthem, and this is a titanium integral. This is not an integral. This has a titanium backspacer sandwich construction, but thought it's a good size comparison. Especially the blades are very similar in size, and the handle obviously is a little bit smaller here, thinner profile, although it's thicker here and a little bit longer here. So let's look at some others. We've got the Benchmade Griptilian. So you can see this is a really, really good EDC size. Spyderco Para. Again, these are mainstays of EDC, and so you can really see that it, other than the fact that it's taller in the scale, thicker, it's a very, very good EDC size. And so we can see also a lot of people have the Microtech Ultratech. Very similar size there as well, although this is an automatic. And let's do the Spyderco Manix and the Paramilitary 2. So you can see with the Manix, the Manix is actually a really good comparison. The blade's a little bit shorter, but the handle's about the same size. It also, in places, is just as thick. So if you like the profile of the Manix, I think you're going to like the profile of this, the Chaves 229. The PM2 is a little bit thinner on the scales, and the blade is very much different shape. There's a lot more flat on this blade, than either of these blades, but you're going to get you're not going to get the tallness on this blade as you do on this blade. This is the leaf shape. And just for good measure, let's bring in ZTO562 and Endura XM18, which are basically the same knife. This is the Endura design, although these are different blade shapes. And you can see here, again, the thickness of the handles is very similar. You don't have as many of these secondary cutouts, but you still have the finger grooves here. And so you can see why people who rave about the ergonomics of the ZTO562 and the Endura XM18 are going to understand why the Chaves 229 is also great in hand. It's not quite as good in hand. Again, we'll get to that later. And we've got the Cold Steel AD-10 and the Spyderco Shaman. Okay, I think that'll do it for size comparisons. So let's get into what's good and what's bad about this knife. So let me first start by saying this is a Chaves design, and he, for a long time, had been doing customs and I believe mid-techs as well. And eventually he decided he was going to partner with Reate Knives in China. And Reate is one of the premier knives, along with We Knives, that come out of China. And they have excellent fit and finish. They're known for excellent fit and finish, excellent action. This knife is no exception. So one of the good things about this knife is that it's made by Reate and designed by Chaves. So this version of it is the CKG, the Chaves Knife Group 2019. The Chaves Knife Group does a different knife each year. This is this year's version of the knife. The normal version, the production version that you can find on any website is going to be the same exact knife, except this is going to be this design is not going to be there. It's going to be just a regular, plain titanium top. But other than that, this is basically the same knife you would be getting if you were to buy from Blade HQ or anyone else who still has these in stock. So so what's good about this knife, I will say, is the action. And this is actually what's great about the knife. The action is so buttery smooth. It is ridiculous. I mean, this thing, and this is out of the box. I haven't done anything to this. Obviously, I've carried it around, but as far as once it gets past that detent right here, it just falls down. Really, really fantastic action. The other really great thing about this is the blade. This blade is one of the best grinds of any blade I've ever had the pleasure of carrying. This is a hollow grind. It's a compound grind, but it's a hollow grind here, and it comes to a really thin edge. And then you have the flat grind here. You got a swedge on top, and it just really has a fantastic grind. This thing is a laser through whatever you want to put it through. It's got a nice strong tip because of that flat grind here. You don't have a weakened tip because the hollow grind goes to the edge. It's thicker here, so you get a nice strong tip along with just a thin, nice slicey blade back here. The Chaves logo is it's definitely an attractive logo. Obviously, certain settings are better than others for the logo, and again, we'll get to that clip later as well. But the action on this is just really fantastic. It's a thumb stud opener. It's not a flipper, so that's it's a plus and a minus, and we'll get to why it's a minus later. I do love thumb studs. Benchmades were my first introduction to production folders, and so most of them are thumb studs. And I really enjoy some of my other thumb stud knives, such as the Cold Steel AD-20. But the thumb studs, again, we'll get to what's bad about them later. But I do like the thumb stud opening. The hardware on here is really attractive. You got this nice. It's not a crazy design or anything, but I think the simplicity of the design, and you get a picture of this without the design here for the Chaves Knife Group. The simplicity of the design is really what makes this so attractive. I mean, you've got just a couple of pieces of hardware here. You've got the screws to hold in the back spacer. You got this nice, satin polished edge here on the pivot screw, and pretty much the same on the other side. Nice clean lines, and again, this is the plain look on the other side, which you'll get on the other side if you don't have that Chaves Knife Group design. The pocket clip is done extremely well. For whatever you feel about the design, the pocket clip, the quality of it is extremely well. It's screwed in on the underside of the plate, so you have hidden screws on the pocket clip, which is excellent because you don't see any of the screws for the pocket clip while it's hanging out of your pocket. And the back spacer, again, is nice simple design. It's flow through here, and then you have that nice titanium back spacer, plain titanium back spacer that just goes around to the back here. Let me close the knife to make this easier to see. So, yeah, you can just see the simplicity of the lines on this are really attractive. Chaves does a great job of designing the knife. Okay, I think that's it for the good and the great. I mean, I will say the value of it at $300 is a pretty good value. considering it's made by Reate, it's a designer knife, and like I said, the action, the grind and everything is excellent. Also, actually another good thing about it is this is M390, and you know, obviously that's a well-regarded steel. It's regarded by a lot of people as the best all-around steel. I like it a lot. It's probably not my number one, and that's a lead-in for another video. I might do it another time, but it's definitely up there. So, but it's an excellent all-around steel, and it will almost never give you any problems. If you're not crazy misusing your knife, I should say. So as far as what's bad about this? Well, one of the things that obviously people complain about is the pocket clip. And while it's extremely good quality, it's not for everyone. And I thought for a while, and the reason I hadn't gotten this for a while, was that it was not for me. I work in an office environment, and I wear slacks all the time. I wear tucked in shirts, so I can't have a shirt hanging over a pocket to hide it. You know, the pockets on slacks are cut much lower, so you know, you also see that there. So it's not, you know, something that people are going to be used to seeing in the office. That being said, I work in an office that happens to be that it's not much of an issue. Part of the reason is I'm one of the owners, and the other reason is that it's a pretty laid-back environment. So I just had to get over myself, and you know, I wanted to get in on the hype. I heard all the hype and needed to check out the knife. I had to get over myself. I decided, you know what, I'm just going to wear it. I'm going to do it. And once I started carrying it, this thing didn't leave my pocket for like 2 weeks. I mean, I don't really carry a lot of knives for 2 weeks straight like that, because I have a very large collection. I have 60 plus knives. And so I'm usually rotating them out pretty frequently. And so this really was in my pocket, and it's still in my pocket. You know, I've started rotating more things in, but you know, this is one of the ones that I'm choosing from, you know, a handful of knives almost every single day. And this is definitely one of those contenders that I'm always choosing from. And the pocket clip really hasn't been an issue. Nobody's really said anything about it. As long as I'm wearing it with confidence, nobody really cares. And usually a lot of the "can I really do this" is in your head. You know, if you put confidence out there like you should be wearing a skull clip, then nobody's going to question you wearing a skull clip. It just is what it is. I shouldn't say nobody. If you're in a jurisdiction where you can't carry this, don't carry it. But, you know, other than that, yeah, it's an excellent knife. Now, what is one other thing that's not the best on this knife? What's not good about this knife? Well, the lock bar, the detent in the lock bar is so sensitive that if you have your finger even touching the lock bar, it will not come out. It just will not come out, no matter how hard you push. And when I first got this, even when I didn't have my finger on there, and I held the pocket clip in order to open the knife, so even when I first did that, now it works fine, but it took a while to break that in. It was just very tight. I'm not sure why it was like that. I don't know if all of them come like that. I did get this one secondhand, although it was brand new in box, or at least advertised as such. And but any pressure on the lock bar whatsoever would make it so it is unopenable. So one of the things that you have to be aware of is, you know, you hand this knife to somebody else and they try to open it and they can't do it, because everyone puts their finger on the lock bar. And the truth is, you know, let me see if I can find some other knives. So, yeah, I mean, when I hold my Endura, for example, yeah, my hand's on the lock bar. Yes, it's a flipper, so it's less of an issue, but I don't have any problem getting past the detent there, you know. Yeah, this is the same thing. My finger's on the lock bar, you know, same design, but let's see another knife if I have an issue with that. How about something from Wii? So, again, here, no problems. So, you can start to see, you know, that's one of the drawbacks is you haven't put any pressure. I mean, even resting your finger on it ends up making it difficult to open. And the problem with that is I fidget with my knives, and I know many of you do too. And so if you're wanting to open and close this over and over again, you're going to get, you know, an indentation in your finger. I don't know if you can already see it. Excuse me, but the end of your finger is going to get bruised because of these thumb studs. So that was the other thing I was going to get to with the thumb studs, was the thumb studs are such that if you're putting pressure on the lock bar, or you know, if you're opening it and closing it over and over again, you're going to run into where every once in a while you're going to be either putting pressure on the lock bar or having it, you're opening it from a position where it's not ideal to open it. So you're going to push into it and it's going to leave an indentation in your thumb, and do it 500 times and your thumb's going to be a little bruised or sore. So that is one of the drawbacks of it. There was actually a day I had to take it out of my pocket because my thumb was too sore and I wanted to fidget with something. So I ended up, you know, with a Spyderco in my pocket that day, because I know that I can use other fingers or a variety of fingers to do that, and I don't use my thumb really ever to open a Spyderco, and if I do, it's in the hole, nothing's pressing into it. So that is one of the drawbacks, well, two of the drawbacks, the thumb stud, coupled with the fact that you put your finger on the lock bar and it just doesn't open. That together is probably the biggest problem with the knife. That being said, you can solve that by just holding the clip and just remembering to hold the clip every time. It's not a natural way to hold it, so it's not ideal, but it really doesn't provide much of an issue. And once you get used to it, you know, you're not going to have any issues. So that is the Chaves 229, Ultramar 229. Ultramar, by the way, is the designation by Chaves for knives that are made by Reate and not by him. So these are designed by him, but they're not made by him, they're made by Reate. So go ahead and let me know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments section if you have this knife or if you have any other Chaves knives, and whether or not you have the same issue with the lock bar, putting pressure on the lock bar or thumb studs. And you know, go ahead and leave a like, a comment, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you can get all my content. Thanks so much for watching.